objects become a very, very important and significant part of the writing process. The physical pen on the page, the scrumpling of a piece of paper. And of course, one of the things that's very striking about this is I'm talking about paper, I'm talking about pens, I'm talking about magnetic tape, which of course is no longer used if you're making radio programs. And ironically, I think it's precisely because these objects are becoming less immediately obviously useful that actually objects in general are kind of becoming more important. It's a real treasure trove to come to MoDA, to the Museum of Domestic Design and Architecture, which is so wonderfully named, because it's just got huge quantities of stuff bursting out of the storeroom, but also, as I say, the kind of stuff that you might consider not important. And it's when you look at it, it's when you consider the details of it and really begin to think about it, that you actually see how it relates to much bigger themes. So, for example, work that I've done with my students here, it's been very interesting to me to see which objects they become very interested in. So some of the work that we've done has involved object analyses, so that the students will take an object and won't be told what it is, and they have to initially just think about it. How does it feel? How does it look? How does it smell? And then they have to, after they've done a very, very close analysis of all these things, then they start thinking, well, what might it be? And one third year student in particular wrote an absolutely lovely piece, really very kind of insightful and actually kind of quite moving, ending about the wallpaper sandwich, this chunk of different wallpapers that has been removed from a wall, and actually the piece ended up being thematically just very, very wide about humanity, about why we choose to kind of collect and keep objects. So it has been very interesting to see how the students interact with the objects, which inspire them, and also just the process really of how students who may be a little bit nervous about writing, if you set out to write a great novel, where do you begin? The blank page can become extremely frightening thing if you're setting out to write something that you really want to be good. And if you absorb the students in these objects, in thinking about these objects, by the time they've written some notes about the objects, they actually find they've already written a significant part of a scene, by the time they get out of the museum, and that scene can then become the centerpiece of a story. And so it helps the students develop pieces in a less intimidating and more organic way.